Hi, I'm Frank Murphy, and this is the Celebrity Couch. Welcome, Harrison Smith from the Minnesota Vikings. Harrison, hi.
How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing fine. First of all, welcome back to Knoxville. Welcome home.
Thank you. It's nice getting in some warm weather.
Yeah, excellent. How much time do you get to spend in Knoxville versus Minnesota?
It's most of the time in Minnesota, maybe a few months out of the year down here.
All right. Harrison Smith, Knoxville Catholic High School, Notre Dame University, the Minnesota Vikings, and honorary chairman of this year's Kids Helping Kids Fun Walk to benefit Columbus Home. So we'll talk about that too. But my pressing question that I need to know, most importantly of anything, is which is better, Minneapolis or St. Paul?
I spend most of my time in Minneapolis. They're both great cities. A lot to offer.
All right, well, take us back to your playing career. I mean, where'd you go to school before high school?
I went to Sacred Heart.
Did you start in football there?
I really started when I was in like third or fourth grade playing for the Bearden teams.
Okay.
Practicing over in Bearden, and I played there for 4 or 5 years and then switched over to Sacred Heart.
All right, and then that brought you into the Catholic High program.
Yes, sir.
Now, when I went to the Catholic High games and would see you play, I mean, you played both offense and defense. Mm-hmm. But I always thought of you, because I guess I'm just narrow-minded, as an offensive player, as a wide receiver, maybe a tight end. But now in the NFL, you're a safety. How did you switch positions? I mean, you went to linebacker, you went to these other things. Why does that happen?
It's just, it might be body type, it might be, what you kind of have a passion for. And I think, I love playing offense, but once I got to the next level, defense is really where I felt most comfortable.
Really?
I felt like I could make the most plays. I think when you're getting recruited and everything, the offensive highlights are what everyone wants to see.
Yeah.
So I think that's what everyone remembers. But once you kind of move on, it starts getting more narrow and more narrow. You can't play both ways.
Sure, exactly. All right, so you are one of those guys who now really has been, I'll say kissed by lightning as opposed to struck by lightning, because the number of people who make it from the high school level to the NFL is really minuscule. Mm-hmm. What type of preparation and hard work did you have to put in to get all the way to the NFL?
Yeah, it's every step. You see some guys who get to the college level and think, I've kind of made it here, and maybe start not working as hard. And it's just something you have to keep constantly reminding yourself is, that you haven't made it. You can never really make it. So once you get into the NFL, do you want to be in the league for a few years? Do you want to be a Pro Bowl player? So you just have to keep that drive going. And there's also, a bit of luck in it as well, staying healthy and things like that. Because there's plenty of guys that could play that just kind of get unlucky.
One of the things that struck me in an interview that I saw that you did was when you talked about setting some goals. You were a first-round draft pick by the Minnesota Vikings, and you looked up the statistics. Remember, you know what I'm talking about, right? Tell me about that goal setting that you did and how it helped you.
Being drafted in the first round, there's a lot of expectations for you to come in and play right away. And so when I got drafted, I looked up basically the prior 10 years of what the first-round safeties did in their rookie year, and kind of combined all those and tried to hit those numbers my rookie year.
Wow.
So I think just having those...
Tried to, and succeeded, right?
Yes. This past year, got injured and didn't get to play all the games, so I fell short of my goals this past year. So next year, I look forward to kind of getting back on the right track.
All right, so we're talking with Harrison Smith from the Minnesota Vikings. I don't want to skip over your career at Notre Dame, but that was pretty impressive, too. I mean, you got to really help that program move the needle in the time that you were there.
Yeah, we didn't win as many games as I would have liked to while I was there.
But I mean, what? When you joined, they had won, 3, or that was the
No, that was actually my first year.
All right.
The prior year, they went to the Sugar Bowl, and then the year after I left, they went to the national championship game. So I was kind of in the middle area.
You're the rebuilding years.
Yeah, that's what they call it to make us feel good, but I don't know.
You would have liked to have been in that national championship game.
Absolutely. I would have not liked to, been on the losing end like they were, but just to get there is saying a lot.
How much football do you watch when you're not in the game? I mean, can you relax and watch a football game just for fun?
A little bit. It's definitely less.
It's homework now.
Yeah, you watch it a little differently.
Yeah.
And you don't watch the ball. Most people watch the ball during the game. I'm watching the receivers, the safeties, the corners, and seeing what they do. So it's a little bit different. And sometimes I like to watch what a movie or something instead.
Well, like The Blind Side or Rudy.
Try to stay away from those ones, but there is a lot of film study in the NFL, so it can be a job, and then you can also watch it for fun as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now one of the things that's really cool is that you're the honorary chairman of the Kids Helping Kids Fun Walk, which is a benefit for Columbus Home. And it's cool for a couple of reasons. First of all, the event, which happens on Sunday, May 4th, is at Knoxville Catholic High School on the football field. Do you need maybe like GPS directions or maybe a Google map to get there?
I think I could find it. I was there the other day though, and it looked a lot different.
Now it has artificial turf, right?
Yes, and the track is all redone, so it's very spiffy and should be a great place for the event.
Well, because of the artificial turf, they can have this event out on the field too, and not worry about tearing up the grass, and it's pretty cool. So you'll be right there, different field obviously, but same location as your high school glory. So that must be kind of cool to be invited to be that guy who gets to come back.
Yeah, it's very flattering and humbling to be asked to be the honorary chair, and it's a great event, so I'm looking forward to it.
And another thing that struck me is when Columbus Home, Columbus Home obviously helps at-risk youth at different levels, and when you see Columbus Home, it's diagonally across the parking lot from the family court. And the reason that it started in the first place is the judge at the family court said, look, I got to send these kids someplace. I can send them to state custody. If there was a non-governmental place that I could put them in a safe house for a week, 2 weeks, maybe we can find the aunt, the grandma, somebody else to care for them. Well, that judge that I'm talking about who says, I am sending you diagonally across the parking lot to Columbus Home to be safe for 2 weeks, is Judge Tim Irwin, who played for the Minnesota Vikings.
And a lesser-known fact, he also coached me while I was at Sacred Heart.
I did not know that.
I played with his son, Connor.
Yeah.
I played football and basketball with him, so there's a strange connection there.
Well, I bring that up on purpose. I didn't know this connection you're talking about, but I want to hear more about, how Judge Tim Irwin of the Minnesota Vikings and other teams influenced you. So tell me more.
Yeah, well, he's obviously a great role model for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of the path that he took, and then playing in the NFL, and then not kind of saying that's enough, getting further educated, and then becoming a judge.
Lawyer, judge. Yeah.
A lot of people just aren't going to do those things, and he just keeps reinventing himself almost. So he's a great guy to look up to and try to emulate.
Now let's talk about your career at Notre Dame then, because you stayed for an extra year and got some extra education as well. So what did you study?
I studied business management,
mm-hmm.
And it was I was there for an extra year, so I got that last year. I kind of got a little more flexibility with my schedule because I'd already graduated and I could kind of take the class I wanted to take.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I actually thought I learned more that year because it was stuff I was more interested in, and it was more kind of focused.
So how is that? I know obviously right now you got to think about who we playing in the preseason and who we playing in week one. But looking down the road, looking like a Judge Tim Irwin would down the road, what are your thoughts for a post-NFL career? Because a lot of guys don't have that foresight. A lot of guys, they end up out of the NFL. They're like, now what?
Right.
You're not thinking that.
And that's something that they put us in a lot of programs to try to avoid those situations.
They meaning
the 30 for 30 broke.
Oh.
The NFL, they put it on and try to help guys out. There's plenty of off-season programs. I went to one last year that was a business-focused program at Notre Dame for entrepreneurship, and that's something that I want to learn more about. I don't want to jump into it.
Sure.
Just going crazy, but I that's something that interests me the most.
A lot of the guys who go broke, they end up putting their name on some business, whether it be a car dealership or a restaurant, and then not really knowing how to run it. They're just putting their name on it. But if you're talking about entrepreneurship, you're talking about really being the driving force of the business, using the same preparation.
Yeah, and that's something that's what I studied in college was, if you want it to be run right, you want it to be run the way that you want to run it, then you need to run it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happens with a lot of professional athletes is people come to them or they have ideas, but they don't really get involved. They just kind of lend their money or their name,
right?
And they don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the ones that are still around, obviously the exceptions. There's a lot of athletes that I've seen throughout the course of the years who still have the successful car dealership. Hank Aaron is an example of that in Atlanta. He shows up. He goes to the car dealership every day. He works there.
Yeah, he actually, it's funny you mentioned him. I got to listen to him speak at Notre Dame. He's got car dealerships,
restaurants,
franchises, yes. And
I think he has a Krispy Kreme that he goes to every morning at 5. I mean, really, he goes there every morning like at 5 a.m. and gets his donuts, and then he goes to the car dealership.
Yeah, but, very involved.
Yeah.
And he's been extremely successful. So he's a guy that, obviously, Hank Aaron is a long reach out there, but he's a guy that you would want to try to model yourself after.
Well, when you were a kid, when you were at Sacred Heart or at Catholic High, and the idea of playing in the NFL was not a concrete thing, it was a dream. Was that your only goal, or what else would you think you might end up doing with yourself?
I think I remember in kindergarten they asked us what we wanted to do, and I drew a line down the middle, and I wrote a football player. I drew a football player and then a doctor. So they said, you're probably not going to be able to do both these things.
The football doctor. I mean, come on.
So I was a little ambitious as a child, but I think that's a good thing, and it kept me motivated.
That's outstanding. All right, well, let's talk a little more about the cause. Harrison Smith of the Minnesota Vikings, formerly of Catholic High and Notre Dame, returning to Catholic High for this event put on by Catholic Charities of East Tennessee on Sunday, March 4th, the Kids Helping Kids Fun Walk. It's a party. I mean, when you get there, I mean, it's almost hard to remember the reason for everyone being there, because this is something that's been going on for several years. Have you ever had any opportunity to experience it in the past, or have you always been from training?
I have not been able to go. I'm up in Minnesota, but we get the weekends off, so hopefully I'll be able to get down there this year and get involved. I'm really looking forward to the inflatables and getting on there and jumping around before the walk starts.
Well, that's what they do set up, as we mentioned, at Catholic High on the field. They've got the inflatables out there on the field. There are booths around. And when you register for yourself or for your family, that includes everything. I mean, once you've paid that money for your family, you get the T-shirt, you get the food, and usually there's, fun family fare type food, pizza and donuts and cupcakes and wonderful things like that. And then activities, and we played music and did shout-outs over the PA system the past couple of years when I was the honorary chairman. And then, obviously, there's the walk itself. At some point, we tell everybody to leave. They have to go out and walk around the campus of Catholic High and All Saints Church. And you can get people to sponsor you for that, and raise money for Columbus Home. So when they came to you and said, Harrison, this is a good cause, what was the pitch? How did they persuade you to participate?
It was basically, just pitching how it helps Columbus Home. And I think, one thing that I've read about the event that's nice is that, kids can take part in this event, and they'll help kids their own age at the Columbus Home, which I think is really cool.
And most of the people who participate,
in other fundraisers.
Most of the people who participate are in that elementary school range and high school range too. And then, of course, Columbus Home has got a couple of different aspects to it. There's the group home for high school age kids, and these kids they might either have gotten in trouble with the law themselves, or they may come from a home that's broken, and the judge says, go here, and they're able to actually be mainstreamed into West High School, and it's like a dormitory type environment with some discipline that they could use in their lives and some structure. But there's also the emergency shelter, which is the one that touches my heart, and that's what I was kind of talking about before, where the judge says, hey, mom and dad are on drugs, or maybe it's just mom or just dad in that situation, obviously unable to care for this child, and instead of state's custody, go to the Columbus Home emergency shelter until we find Granny and or until mom is out of rehab, until something happens, and then that child's life is changed. It's a change either way, but instead of being into all that paperwork and all that mire of state custody, they get a chance, they get an opportunity. And there's other factors of it too. There's the Columbus Home assisting parents. There's the other, for newborns. There's so many different facets of Columbus Home. It's growing. It's a part of Catholic Charities of East Tennessee. So when you were in high school, Catholic Charities of East Tennessee has been around for a while. I know when my son he was a year behind you at Catholic High. And whenever we needed a service project, we're like, hey, Catholic Charities, need some service hours. What did you do for service hours?
There was a lot of those opportunities going, delivering food, Habitat for Humanity. A lot of people got involved with. There's plenty of options, and like you said, if you needed something, you could always find it through Catholic Charities. How
did that carry through for you, Harrison Smith, to Notre Dame and to the NFL? Because in the NFL, I mean, we see the United Way, TV ads and stuff like that, where we see the guys building houses and we see the guys delivering food and we see that kind of stuff. What do you and the Vikings do in your community to give back?
There's too many things to name, and that goes for every team. But really, what's nice is that every Tuesday is our day off, so there's no football on Tuesdays, and almost everybody participates in some sort of community service during the season on those Tuesdays, and it reaches all areas of Minnesota. And I'm working with Big Brothers Big Sisters up there. And I've already been to a few events, a bike giveaway around Christmas, and just seeing the kids' faces light up when they don't know they're getting the bikes. They're just kind of there having fun, and then surprised with these new bikes for Christmas. So it's been great just being able to work with so many different organizations.
I also saw some video of kids' faces lighting up at, I guess it was just a regular promotional appearance that the Vikings were doing, but there were these kids lined up to get you to sign their footballs and their number 22 jerseys and stuff like that. When you were their age, was there a player that you would have waited in line to get an autograph?
I remember I had an Emmitt Smith jersey when I was young. I wasn't really a Cowboys fan. For some reason I loved Emmitt
Was
Smith.
he number 22 also?
He was.
All right, a connection maybe?
It's really not. My brother wore 22. That's why I wore it.
Oh, okay.
But big fan of him. And he's also been a good role model.
All right. So now when you're on that other side of the table and you look out and there's this line of people who want to meet you, Harrison Smith, how does it make you feel?
Honestly, it doesn't feel like it was me looking up to Emmitt Smith the way that they look up to me, because it just doesn't feel, it feels bizarre. You don't really realize, how you got in that situation, I guess. So not that I take it for granted, I love it.
Well, yeah, you worked hard. This was not. Right. It's not an accident that.
But it just, it just kind of feels strange. Maybe I'll get used to it over the next few years.
Yeah, you have to be able to, appreciate when they want to give you this gift of, hey, I really love watching you play, and it's challenging sometimes to remember that you need to accept that gift from them to honor them, as opposed to just going, oh no, I'm nothing. Because then what you're doing is you're slapping it back in the face.
That's true, because you kind of want to live up to what they think of you, I guess. Yeah. So there's a middle ground there, and any kid that you can just talk to for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, take a picture with, talk to, that could last a lifetime in their memory. So you don't want to be that negative impact and go the opposite way. You want to live up to what they think.
I bet there are horror stories that go around, I mean, not just in the NFL, but in any major league sport, in Hollywood, about that celebrity that just really was a total, I can't say the word, but...
there's a
jerk.
There's been a few guys who, just because you get access to different people, and you get to meet maybe some of your heroes, and some guys have said, you don't want to meet your heroes, because they've had those horror stories, so you want to be the hero they want to meet.
Well, I mean, my heroes, obviously, a lot of them are going to be in the field of entertainment, television, stuff like that. I was reading an article about somebody who said, I didn't want to write about my encounter with Sid Caesar, who died, because he was a total jerk. I'm like, oh! Now, who are some of the big names that you have met through the course of this, maybe in the broadcasting field? I mean, I've obviously been interviewed probably by all these famous guys who are now broadcasters.
Yeah, I've got to go into the NFL Network studio and do an interview in there, which was, once again, I felt like, what am I doing here?
Really? Well, I mean, all right. So if you're feeling that, what year were you? First year, second year?
That was I think that was before I was drafted.
Okay.
2012. All
right. So you're a college player, a successful college player who's obviously going to be, you've gone through the combine, you've gone through all this stuff, and you're walking in there going, feeling unworthy. Imagine how. That's just bizarre to me.
It just feels, I feel at home, when I'm playing football. I feel like I belong. I feel like I should definitely be out there. And then, just the other stuff that comes with that. It's not that I feel that I'm unworthy. It just feels, it just feels kind of funny. You don't feel like you would ever, when you're in middle school, you don't feel like you're going to be doing their view. And,
all right, so there's a disconnect because when you're on the field, you're focused on the battle, the war, the game, and you're not thinking about all this peripheral stuff. That's really what I'm talking about. I mean, you can play football and never be interviewed.
Right, and there's different examples of guys on the league. I think two guys on the same team. Marshawn Lynch on the Seahawks, and then Richard Sherman. Sherman, he's in front of the cameras. He likes doing it. He likes being that personality. Where Marshawn Lynch turns down interviews. So I think it's just personality.
You're somewhere in between.
That's somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you do an interview, what's something that you feel makes you comfortable and you'd like to talk about? Is it the X's and O's, or is it about the community service? What would it be?
Anything that I'm familiar with is normally the easiest. So the X's and O's are obviously
And which is the X and which is the O, by the way? The defense
honestly,
is the X, right?
They don't even draw it up that way anymore. I think
what do they do?
I think that's very old school. They just,
draw down
the position. So safety, you put an S up there.
Oh, okay.
Quarterback, a Q, so on and so forth.
Well, all right. Now, obviously, you went to some very reputable and excellent schools, and you studied business, and you did well. But football requires homework and requires study and requires preparation. I mean, you're not done with all of that stuff, with reading and, like you mentioned, watching films and learning this whole new language. Describe that process for me a little bit.
Really, it's more mental than it is physical, especially now. Yeah, they've lowered there's more restrictions on how often you can be on the football field. So we really, we're only out there 2.5, 3. I don't even know what the restriction is. Hours a day
for practice.
So the rest is meetings. Meet in the morning, meet after lunch, meet after practice, and then when you go home, you take film with you and watch film of who you're playing, or you watch film of your previous game. So that the mental aspect is way more than the physical, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. When you're down there during a game and it's hot or it's cold, or how much of that is a distraction versus that guy has the ball and I need to sting him pretty hard?
I think once the game starts, it's not. You really don't pay too much attention to those outside factors because your body, if it's cold, your body will get warm. If it's hot out, they have things that can help you out. Taking extra, salt tablets or Gator Lights is what they are to keep yourself from cramping. So they do a great job of keeping us hydrated and ready to play.
But you pride yourself in being a hard tackler.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get injured? I didn't even ask.
I had a turf toe, which sounds like a little minor injury, but I was out for 8 weeks, and it was just kind of getting bent too far back.
Oh, all right.
Just one of those deals. So hopefully I can avoid that.
So, but that's something that is not going to be. It's not a career-ending injury, though. Either.
No. I came back the last 3 games and played and felt great.
Oh, okay. So when you're out there, playing safety, and you're keeping an eye not on the ball, or where the ball's going to be, is where you're thinking.
It kind of depends on the coverage, the play, what's my assignment, what are they doing on offense. That's why you spend so much time studying, in the class.
Well, it seems to me that maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that in baseball they say the catcher always has to be one of the smarter guys on the field because he kind of has to have that picture of where everything is fitting into place. And I kind of, if I'm wrong, tell me, see safety as similarly, because you've got to have this whole idea of everything that could happen so that you know where to go.
Mm-hmm. Safety and middle linebacker are generally kind of the positions that people look at as the quarterbacks of the defense. I would really go with middle linebacker first, and then the safeties kind of run the back end.
Because you played linebacker too.
Mm-hmm. But, just being in the middle of the field and being deep, you can see the whole offense, and you can kind of warn guys on either side of the ball what this look might give you or what could be coming.
How much talking is there on the field? Now, this year we got to hear, Peyton Manning yelling, Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. Mm-hmm. But normally, in the old days when I was a kid, you would have thought it was a silent movie. You didn't hear the players talking, and now we got mic'd up. Now we got all these other things.
Yeah, there's there are things you're supposed to say. I prefer the signals, the hand signals, because in loud games, you can't hear each other. You can barely hear yourself. So everything that we do, I like to have a signal for, just so you can do it real quick and know that the other person gets it by doing it back to you. I think that's the best way to communicate on the field.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. We have some Alcoa fans who work here at the radio station who obviously get all excited about Randall Cobb. I heard you tell a funny story about one time when he was receiving a punt and you were covering it. Because you didn't really know him that much when you were at Catholic and he was at Alcoa, right?
No, we, I think we competed each other in track and he smoked me. and maybe that was it, because we never played in football.
It was after you left, they changed the divisions around, and now Catholic and Alcoa play more often.
We played him in basketball, but I don't know if he was playing. But being able to compete against an East Tennessee guy, Lee Smith is another guy I played against. He went to Powell. And it's funny, covering those guys or being around them on the football field in the NFL is pretty funny.
That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Wow, because they're talking about lightning striking 3 times. 3 guys locally all being in the league at the same time. Because I went to a party at Second Harvest Food Bank when they had former NFL players. They had 22 former NFL players who all live around here, and you're like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you don't always realize it until you're playing a new team every week, and you say, oh, he went here, he grew up there.
Is that part of your preparation? You study where they went to college, where they went to high school?
Yeah, we always get a kind of a roster of where they went to college, where they grew up. You get pretty much everything you want to know about them.
Oh, awesome. Well, we are really excited that you are the honorary chair for this year's Kids Helping Kids Fun Walk to benefit Columbus Home, a project of service of Catholic Charities of East Tennessee. Sunday, May 4th, it's a beautiful day to get out and celebrate this fun thing. It starts, in the afternoon, maybe at 12:30, start registration. You can, of course, pre-register online. It's easiest to Google it, but if you want to go to ccetn.org, is the website for Catholic Charities of East Tennessee. It's got all the links. There's an Eventbrite where you can buy your tickets. You can find it on Facebook as well. To buy your tickets in advance, it's probably the easiest thing to do. And then I'm counting on you to be there.
Yeah, I'm counting on myself to be there.
All right.
So just as long as they don't hold me for anything.
Because I'm the one who's going to be holding the mic going, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen, here's Harrison Smith."
Well, if I'm there, you're going to have to grab me off the inflatables. So.
Oh, all right. The local DJ tackles Harrison Smith. That's a headline right there.